Hey everybody, it's me, Elena, and Josh is here too. And today I'm going to be answering those questions that were in Discord. I think it was, what was the page called? Ask a Schizophrenic Anything. That's what it was called.
Yes.
And then you guys proceeded to ask me a bunch of questions about good and evil, which I think is hilarious. So, Josh is going to read the questions to me, and I'm going to attempt to answer them without a script, raw. Some of these questions I answered like a little bit in the Discord, but some of them I didn't because I was just like, what the fuck? These are too philosophical for my stupid ass. Just read the questions. All right, let's go. What's the first question?
Do you believe in absolute good and evil?
So this is what I mean. Like, why? Like, why? I'm too stupid for this type of shit. But, alright, no, I don't. But, I mean, at the same time, it's an unanswerable question. Because what do you mean by absolute? Do you mean, like, a god up there defining it? Like, I suppose, but I believe in God, but I don't really trust, like, his or she or its opinions on things. I don't trust it to actually manage things well, because, hello, look at Earth. Exhibit A. Anyway, to the question of do I believe in absolute good and evil, like, not really, but I don't know. Like, and that's the thing, is like, I don't know if absolute good and evil exists, but like, as far as I know, you can label you can label anything good or evil based on how much it harms or how much good it does, right? And like, I think the example I used was, if you accidentally kill a bunch of people and you feel bad, that's a bad act, right? But if you do it on purpose and you think it's hilarious, like your intent was to kill a bunch of people, I would call that an evil act, right? So, what's the difference between those two acts? They both end with a bunch of people harmed and killed. Well, intent. So I think intent is what defines evil. The next question is just as annoying, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think evil is inherent in people or something they develop over time?
That's some people. Because, I mean, like, there's like a percentage of like sociopathy and criminality that you will see in every society on planet Earth, that no matter how good of a childhood somebody had, they might grow up to hurt people, or they're the kind of person who like fucking kills animals and rips Barbie doll heads off and shit when they're a child. Like, some people are just born that way. But I think in many cases, people are created that way due to like childhood circumstances. Like, I think like childhood circumstances, whether they are abused, how they had their relationship with friends and their teachers and things like that, can really impact whether or not somebody is evil in their elder years. All right. Next question.
Does a lack of absolute good/evil make evil harder to define?
Well, that's a pretty easy one to answer. No. Because like I said, intent. Intent is like the best way to say, is this an evil act? Is this an act of like, evil is something that is like intentional. Like, it's an act that you want to do a terrible thing. That's the way I define evil. I don't know how it's defined in the fucking dictionary or how other people define it, but it's like it's not a hard to define concept, but it's also like giving it just one definition doesn't really work, right? Like, I feel like it's so broad what can be evil. All right.
Why the fuck do you guys ask?
Oh, that was just my notes.
Oh, okay.
That's just my...
Fair enough. If there is no absolute evil or good, does that mean even the most terrible action can be seen as beneficial?
No, I don't actually understand why one would lead to the other, right? I could just, this is what I meant when I said I'm just too stupid to understand, but like, no. But like, any act can be beneficial in some way, right? Like, you could say that Mother Nature fighting back, or just a natural disaster happening that kills thousands of people, destroys a bunch of homes, and runs, just wreaks havoc on a city, is an evil act from Mother Nature, right? Like, bear with me here. I mean, I don't literally mean Mother Nature up there like, ha ha ha, motherfuckers, but I'm just saying, like, you could say that's an evil act, I guess, if you want to personify nature. And, like, but that could be beneficial to all the animals around and stuff like that. So, like, any evil act could be beneficial. I mean, like, okay, for instance, if you wipe out a large group of humans in some area where they're hunting down certain animals, and, like, that animal's almost extinct, and it gives that animal a chance to, like, repopulate itself, then that is an evil act that was beneficial somewhere, right? Like, to nature. So I guess. So anything can be beneficial. All right, next question.
What's the difference between schizophrenia and hallucinations?
Schizophrenia is a group of symptoms. Hallucinations is just one symptom. So in order to qualify for having schizophrenia, like you're getting a fucking car loan or some shit, Like, oh, step up, you've qualified for schizophrenia. But in order to, like, have the diagnosis, you have to have, like, 2 symptoms, delusions and at least, like, some sort of, like, voice in your head or something like that. I remember reading this. So, like, that's really a big measure on whether or not you have it, I think. I think those 2 things, a voice in your head, at least 1 or 2 voices in your head, and delusions.
If we do a brain scan and replacement, do you think it's sentient, deserving?
They're talking about androids. Because it was like a discussion we were having, but they were saying if you brain scan a human being and put that brain scan into like an android, right? Yeah. Does that android deserve sentience? Because I said it's unethical to give robots and androids and AI any kind of sentience. And I stand by that statement. It's a fucking unethical thing to do. Why would you do that? So they were saying if it has like a human mind in it. And I've just said, like, a brain scan like that is unethical to begin with. Like, we should not even be having a discussion of, well, what if? Because we should never do the brain scan to begin with. But if we do, because humans are fucking stupid, and we all know that we're gonna do this, right? Like, we're all on the same page here, right? We all know that human beings are fucking dumb enough to do this shit. So give it a few hundred years, give it 50 years, 100, 300, 500 years, I don't know how many. But eventually we're gonna be like, hey, let's scan our brain so we can be on the internet or some fucking dumb shit, right? Yeah. Something fucking stupid, right? And I actually want to feel what Wi-Fi feels, bro. Like, I don't know. I just feel like humans are gonna definitely do something very stupid like this. So it's not a win, or it's not a if, it's a win. And, like, what were we talking about? Oh, so if you take a human brain that was scanned and it's an exact copy of a human, right? And they think and feel and act the same way a human being does, and you put that in an android, that's, first of all, do they deserve sentience? Well, they already have it, right? It's a human brain. Like, Soma already covered this, right? Like, they already have it. So it's not a question of do they deserve it. They already have it, and now they deserve rights. And this is like what I'm trying to avoid, okay? I'm trying to avoid a whole nother race of robots with sentience that deserve rights. Because I'm like, I know that sounds crazy, but what I'm saying is they don't, giving them sentience is kind of monstrous, because then they'll realize that they're just slaves, right? It's just like, yep. Can we just let them be robots that don't really know what they're doing and like call it a fucking day? That's my thought process on that. Alright, what's the next question?
How different was schizophrenia in your childhood from your adulthood?
So one of the big things, when my first answer to this was that people just thought I had an imagination rather than thinking I'm a danger to society. And then the follow-up question was, I think the next question was, how did it change for you? Like, did the symptoms become more... What is the next question there?
And for you, were the symptoms always the same? Did they get more intense with time? Did some disappear? Did new ones appear?
So, okay. So, yeah, that was... I think that was Jill asking that question. And basically, what he's asking is did my symptoms change from childhood to adulthood? Yeah, they got more intense. And when I was a kid... they were, I don't want to use the word pleasant. That's not the word we're looking for here, but they're much less pleasant as an adult than they were as a kid, but they still weren't pleasant. And yeah, the symptoms got more intense and new ones appeared, like the voices, command voices, which are very common amongst people who have schizo disorders, like where that tell you like, do this, drink water, clean your room, or pick this up, or go outside, run around naked outside, or hey, that person over there staring at you, you better go punch him in the face, or whatever bullshit like that, or oh, that person wants to kill you. Oh, what do you think is going to happen if they come over here? Blah, 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 blah. Those types of voices became way, way more prominent as I became a teenager and an adult and things like that. Like, when I was a kid, I don't know, those voices weren't really that prominent. A lot of the voices mimicked my like grandparents, because that's who raised me. I don't feel like I really heard too many command voices as a child. That was really more of my teenager and adult years. And then, what was the question about the shadow people?
How do shadow people appear? Are they always there, or only when you acknowledge them? What do they look like? Do they speak?
I mean, no, they're not always there. It's just a common hallucination that sometimes, like when I'm in psychosis, I'll see them. I see them when I have sleep paralysis, and they kind of look like shades from Replicant, like real talk. Like, I don't know, but like it depends. Like, they're just a corner of the eye thing, okay? Sometimes they can be really tall, really short. Like, I don't know, they're scary looking. It's something that's not real, that's like there looming by you, behind you, near you. You never really see them straight on. Sometimes you do. They say stuff, but nothing worth repeating. It's just nonsense, really.
How has schizophrenia impacted your religious beliefs?
When I was really deep in my worst delusions, I definitely thought, like, I got into, like, a lot of alternative stuff. You know, like, I read tarot cards and stuff. I was into New Age crap for a while. I was into astrology for a while. You know, and then after I had my NDE and I started believing in God, I sort of got close to, like, going back into Christianity, but not really. I just touched on it, basically. But I would say, surprisingly, it hasn't really affected my religious beliefs. Like, I believe in God. I'm not religious, though, because I don't see a reason to be religious. So I've returned to answer the last couple of questions by myself. My partner's gone. He had to go to work. So I'm going to take these on by myself without him to, I don't know, stoically stare in the background. It's not like he adds much. You've mentioned before experiencing some voices recurring or sticking around a long time. How much permanence is there to the particularly distinct ones? Pretty permanent. I mean, they've been around since I was a child, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, like the one I talked about in my last milk video, very obviously that one's been around forever, and I think that one's permanent. And some of the meaner ones that constantly criticize, like me, like pick on me personally, the things that I have self-esteem issues with, that one of those is pretty permanent, has been around since I was a teenager and is not going anywhere. So I'd say they're pretty permanent. If they have a particular purpose, you know, like in the case of the one anchoring me, in the case of the other just picking on all my worst anxieties, then they're permanent, I feel. I ask because some examples of what you've described hearing, especially anxieties and intrusive thoughts, very closely mirror ideas that I frequently catch manifesting in my own internal monologue. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that some people can actually hear a voice belittling them, but it's not necessarily the same thing as schizophrenia, right? You know, a doctor was telling me this, that, you know, you don't have to have schizophrenia to hear, like, a voice mocking you in your head. Like, actually hear a voice of some sort. So, I'll start there, because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea and, like, start self-diagnosing, which I don't think that's what this person is doing, the person who asked this question, but I just want to say that. But intrusive thoughts and anxieties seem to be becoming more and more frequent in the modern world. In fact, people say they're pretty normal now. And I used to think they weren't, but like they are. They're pretty common now to have these like crazy intrusive thoughts. And I have to wonder why. I can't answer that question, unfortunately, but I feel like I'm answering this question with a question and like more complicated questions, and I don't mean to do that. It's just that it's a very good question. That leads me to wonder to what extent the contents of auditory hallucinations can be attributed to amplifications of background processing that occurs naturally in the subconscious, especially considering some of the recent research on reality thresholds. You know, I meant to look up what a reality threshold was. The brain evaluates the images it is processing against a reality threshold. If the signal passes the threshold, the brain thinks it's real. If it doesn't, the brain thinks it's imagined. Oh, you know, I probably should have been able to figure that out from, yeah. Okay, well, I sort of have the opinion that a lot of my voices are just manifestations of my fears, my anxieties, my worries about the world. That's what I think, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. And in fact, there is a whole treatment process called talking with voices, I believe, and it's a therapy where you actually have a rapport with your voices, something I already have. So, I mean, you've had them for so many years, you start talking to them, you know? I don't know how else to put it without sounding a little insane, but it's just like, it's there, so what am I supposed to do? Just ignore them all day? I mean, I do ignore them 90% of the time, to be real, but... following up on that, do voices ever present as having egos, or are they strictly compartmentalizations of the mind they derive from? That's a harder one to answer, because I'm not sure what you mean by ego, like its own identity? One of them does seem to, I would say, but that's a harder question to answer, because I remember talking to people in a schizophrenia group, and I remember the question came up, have you ever had a voice take over? And I was like, I think once. And I have had that happen. And people are like, oh, that's not schizophrenia, that's something else. But then there were other schizophrenics who were saying, no, I've had that happen too. And it's really hard for me to say, this is definitely a schizophrenia thing, this isn't. Like, it could be something else, right? And so, and I've had people like try to diagnose me with DID, which I don't have that, okay? I definitely have schizoaffective disorder. Like, I trust the doctors on the diagnosis here because it's been a pretty consistent diagnosis for years now, right? But I have felt like a voice has hijacked me before. And I don't know how to explain that. About how long does it take to make and edit a video? It depends on the video. If it's like, I can push out these videos where I'm talking to you guys on the camera. I can push these out pretty quickly. I'm sure you guys have noticed how quickly I can push those out. So there's that. But if I'm editing like a gameplay video, those used to take a long time. They don't anymore. So I would say if I'm working at my most efficient, accurate, and I'm putting all my focus into it, because I can sit here for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time. One time I sat here for 12 hours doing a video. If I put like all my devotion and focus onto it, like a day. The quickest I've ever done a video was like 7 hours. The slowest I've ever done a video was like a month. And that was my machine stops video, which is blocked, so like nobody can watch it anyway, but whatever. I suppose my question is this. As a schizophrenic, I can only imagine it's not pleasant life if you don't have your meds. Yes, this is true. I guess I'm curious, if you had the choice to change something about your life, would you take away your schizophrenia to live like others do, or keep it? You had most of your life already with it, so do you imagine yourself taking away something that's been part of you for years now, or not? And then, okay, so this is a hard question. This is the hardest question that's been asked. And the reason why is because what he clarified, what he means is like now. He doesn't mean like take it away forever and live a different life. He means take it away now. If somebody could give me a magic pill and say, this will cure your schizophrenia, you will never hear a voice again, you will never have hallucination again, you will never have a delusion again, take this. And it's a hard question to answer, but I'm gonna go with yes. Because I just thought about it and I thought, I'm pretty sure many of us would choose to have it taken away. I'm pretty positive. Okay, now that I'm done crying like a baby back bitch, I answered this already and I started crying, which is why I was gonna re-record it, but I'm probably just gonna start crying again. But my point that I was trying to make is that yes, at first I thought this was a hard question, but then he clarified that like taking it away now, not when I was a child, but now. If you asked me if I would have this taken away as a child, I would say yes without hesitation. But since you said now, I hesitated briefly, but then I realized yes without hesitation, 100% of the time. And the reason why is because of what I've gone through, the way I've been treated, and the way I see other people with this disorder treated. And I just want to know what it's like to be normal in society. Now, and that's really what it comes down to. I want to know what it's like to be normal. I've never known what it's like to be normal. I've never known what a normal perception looks like. I've never known what the actual sky looks like because I have a weird, different perception of the sky and of everything around me. And I didn't even know that my perception was that different from other people's. It's really difficult to realize how different you truly are from other people. I would 100% take that pill. If you offered me a pill and said, this will make your schizophrenia go away, I'd pop it before you were even done with your sentence. It'd be down my throat before you told me that, oh, there's a 50% chance you die or something. I'd be like, well, let's hope that I win the lottery. Okay, so this is like the third or fourth time I'm recording, and this is like the second time Josh is recording, and I have a feeling we're gonna be doing this again because the questionnaire is open, and I'm trying to record my content like as I get the questions and answer them so that when I do the final edit, it's not that huge of a problem, but it's probably gonna end up being an issue anyway. So, Josh is back, so first question.
Here's a few from my mom, who's seen a few of your essays before.
Also, hi 16-bit potatoes mom.
I think you've briefly touched on some of these before. At what age did you receive a diagnosis? And in contrast, what did you or people around you?
Oh my god. Okay, can we break this into? Hold up. Okay. At what age did you receive a diagnosis? Yeah, just read the first paragraph first and the second one, and I'll answer like that.
I mean, that was just one sentence.
That was one sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's break it down. At what age did you receive a diagnosis?
At what age the first diagnosis I ever got was 18, I believe. 18, and it was bipolar, and it was wrong.
Okay. And then, so in contrast to that, when did you or people around you start realizing that what you're experiencing, what you were experiencing?
When did I start realizing I was experiencing something, or specifically like?
I think it's asking, when did someone bring it to your attention, or did you realize it before someone brought it to your attention?
I knew something was wrong when I was a teenager. Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong when I was a teenager. I kind of knew something was wrong for a while, but I didn't really understand it, and I didn't care to understand it because I was more concerned with being a teenager than I was with anything else. I was more concerned with hanging out with my friends, and getting high, and trying to, I don't know, fit in and be normal when I so very clearly was not normal and did not fit in. I was more concerned with that than anything else. And this is something that I think I said earlier when I was answering a question, but that's been like a life pursuit, is to be normal, and the rest of the world lets you know when you are not that.
I know that.
Right, yeah, Josh will tell you too. There isn't a strict definition of normal, but when you are not it, the world will let you know, and it fucking sucks. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you don't want to be normal. Being normal is boring. Being normal is blah, blah, blah. Normal people are the weird ones. No, man. No. Normal people got it good, okay? At least in some aspects. Man, I long to be normal.
So, that was one question.
Okay.
Just was broken up into two things. So the next one is, in what ways have you observed people's perception of you changing before and after being made aware of your condition?
Not a lot of people were super judgmental when I told them about having schizoaffective disorder, because by the time I came out with that, I was diagnosed with that in like, I want to say 2016. And the thing is by 2016, like, people were like pretty cool with you, right? Like, if you were mentally ill, like, they knew better than to immediately assume you're an insane person. Right? There was a lot of like mental health awareness going on in 2016. And so when I talked about being schizoaffective, people weren't like immediately scared. However, I have seen that in other places. Like I have seen other people online come out as schizophrenic and seen people treat them like shit because of it. And actually okay, all right. Here's something I will tell you. Okay, and Josh knows too. Because me and him met online, and we have a lot of mutual friends online. We know a lot of people online for years of being on Facebook and groups and stuff, right? And let me tell you that the second someone doesn't like you anymore or decides to be mean to you, what is the first thing they use against you?
Something mental.
Something, yeah, autism in your case. I was going to say, the thing they used against Josh more than anything was autism, right? And the thing that people will throw at me is being a schizophrenic. Like, there was a time when I drank too damn much, and I remember this one person was like, well, you're a schizophrenic drunk. And it was over, like, the minimalist of discussions, too. It was like, we were, like, discussing music and like, media. And I said something about how certain movies are for pretentious pricks, right? And he was like, well, you're just a schizophrenic alcoholic. And I'm like, bitch, that was fucking uncalled for. But obviously you like those fucking pretentious ass shitty fucking movies. Like, so, whatever. So, and I will do you one better, okay? So, when I was 18, you have to understand, I'm 37 now. So when I was 18, this is like 20 years ago, okay? That was very different. When I was diagnosed with bipolar, I was stupidly open about it. And there were people who were like, what the fuck? Why are you telling me this? Oh my God, are you crazy? Are you gonna hurt me? Like, there were actually people who reacted that way, okay? And, like, obviously in 2016, when I got my diagnosis for schizoaffective, well, it was schizophrenia at first, and then it turned into schizoaffective. And then it was schizoaffective bipolar, by the way, just to explain to you that they just are obsessed with diagnosing women with bipolar, all right? They just, like, if you're a woman, it's like you're bipolar. I mean, I guess if I had to give a definitive answer to this, the answer is that times have changed, man. Because 20 years ago, you would have told somebody you had diagnosis, and they would literally look at you like you were a devil. But in 2016, people were like, oh. Like, people had opinions and they ask stupid questions and they still make weird like assumptions, but it was not as bad as it was 20 years ago. All right. A lot of schizophrenics have talked about though real life situations where people just mistreated them. And I'm sure that's very different from how it was for me in 2016. I'm sure that the way people act in IRL is very different from how they act URL. Anyway, I've stayed on this question way too long, so let's move on to the next segment.
Are there particular environmental factors / stressors that affect the severity of your symptoms?
When it's wet and cold and rainy and dark outside, I definitely get more symptoms. But if my environment is messy, which right now my house is a mess, I get a lot more symptoms. I get overwhelmed by clutter and mess really badly. If there's a lot of like clutter around me, it like overwhelms me and I gotta clean it up right away, or I gotta have Josh help me clean it up. Being around a bunch of people I don't know, my symptoms will start up. And the voices will definitely start voicing more like concerns and worries, and they'll start getting more anxious, and they'll start enforcing fears upon me, like that person's looking at you, that person wants to jump you, look, that group over there, they're talking about you, they want to jump you, they want to rob you, you should get the fuck out of here before somebody kills you, some crazy shit, right? Because those are all just my fears and anxieties, right? And so, like, what the hell question was I answering?
Are there particular factor stressors?
Okay, well, here's a symptom right here. Completely forgetting what the fuck you're talking about in the middle of the sentence because something in your head went just sideways. But, so, messiness, being around people I don't know, parties, big, large gatherings, I don't know, is there any symptoms you've noticed is there anything you've noticed that makes my symptoms worse? Oh, if I have to leave the house.
Yep.
Right.
Having to leave the house, especially if there's gonna be a lot of people there.
Yeah. If I have to leave the house, I'll invent like weird excuses not to leave. I'll be like, oh, I gotta do laundry or something. I don't know, something weird, something stupid.
The fourth is hunger.
That's every woman. That's not unique. That's not schizophrenia. That's every woman.
Bruh.
Like, what? It's the fucking truth. I'm not lying.
Oh, damn. All right.
It's true.
Next question?
Yeah.
All right. What are some things you found helpful in dealing with symptoms? Medication is the obvious one, but are there smaller day-to-day things that make a difference?
Yeah, obviously medication. So, exercising and eating right. I know that sounds like the typical answer, but it's the truth. Exercising and eating right have skyrocketed. I
can attest to that.
Yeah, my mood went, and that was before they made my meds better. Remember, that was even before I got the med adjustment and stuff. So, I started just being happier. Just in eating better, like all that stuff, like just minding my calories, making sure I'm moving my body and exercising, like all that just makes me feel better. I was not like mentally well before, and I was not emotionally well before. And the second I started eating right and exercising, then my mental wellness and my emotional wellness both went up. Like I was able to focus better and get more things done and be more productive, and I had the energy to do those things. And emotionally, I didn't feel like mad about having to do them. I didn't feel like I was going against what I wanted to do. I felt happy that I was doing those things, and then afterwards my emotions were more balanced. So I cannot stress enough, if you feel like you need a little extra help in the department of trying to make yourself feel better, no, it is not a replacement, but it is a booster, okay? Exercising and eating right, minding your calories, and actually paying attention to what the fuck you're putting in your body. Not just eating french fries with oil and hamburgers all the time. And it's not like I don't eat hamburgers and french fries sometimes. I do. But there are healthy replacements for those things as well, just so you know. And a hamburger doesn't have to be unhealthy. It really doesn't.
Okay. Why do you like streaming more than making videos?
Because streaming is interactive. I can talk to people. I think he meant than.
Yeah, it is than.
Oh, okay. Like, you can talk to people, and people will have active responses to the things you're saying. And I'm a person who loves talking a lot. Again, why do you think I have a fucking YouTube channel? I like to talk a lot. I like to interact a lot. And but I'm pretty isolated. Like I said, don't have a lot of family that I talk to too much. And I don't have a lot of friends other than Josh. And so I just spend a lot of time alone. All right. What was the question? Oh.
Why on earth do you own a titty wrist support mouse pad?
Because it's Joseph Joestar.
Yeah, it's a JoJo reference.
It's a JoJo reference. It's Joseph Joestar. Okay,
I mean, it's hilarious.
My mouse pad's a little dirty, but yeah, because it's dope. And, dude, yeah, there you go. Look at that. Optimal titty wrist angle. Okay? No, it's a really good rest is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Next question.
As an extrovert, does your condition also contribute for you to put yourself out there.
To how you put yourself out there. It's like extra painful how isolated I am because I'm an extrovert, because it's like I really like to talk. I really like to talk about things I'm interested in, like a lot. Obviously, that's why I have a YouTube channel, right? And like, I just never know how to talk to people. Like, I used to not. I do now. Like, it's funny because once you get me to talk, I'm really good at it. Like, I'm really good at talking to people, but also I'm really bad at it, and I can be really awkward, and I can make things weird, and I'll start talking about shit that nobody wants to fucking talk about, and everybody will be like, what the fuck are you talking about that for? And it's just like, I don't know. Not a lot of people want to sit around and listen to you talk about your favorite video game, especially people who don't fucking play video games. Like, okay, they don't want to hear you talk about your favorite book, especially when they don't even fucking read, let alone know anything about science fiction, right? So that's something I learned the hard way, right? And it made socializing a lot harder, like, especially when you talk to certain people, you just can't tell them about certain things. You just can only talk to them about certain stuff. I don't know. What was the question I was answering? Oh, right, the extrovert question. I don't think it affects, like, how I put myself out there. I mean, it does, because like I just said, like, I have to control how I speak to others. All right, next question.
Has anyone asked about how dating with schizophrenia is? Not sure how to phrase it, just curious about how you found that, if you wish to answer.
So, by the time I was diagnosed with schizophrenia and then later schizoaffective disorder, I was with somebody, and it was, we broke up, like, shortly after that, and that's when I was in Alaska, and I moved back to California, and I was single for a while, dated a little bit. To be honest, it really wasn't that much different, and I think the reason why it wasn't that big of a deal is because I'm a female. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. And also, when I was just casually dating, I'm not gonna fucking tell people about my disorder if I'm just trying to fuck you. Like, what? Like, I'm not there to marry you. Like, I'm not trying to be your wife. So, like, I don't need to talk to you about my personal life if we're just, like, friends with benefits, right? Excuse my French. I apologize. But anyway, and then I met Josh, and we were just friends, but I always liked him, and I guess he liked me too.
Yeah.
And like, I was seeing other people, and he was seeing other people, but it was all casual. So it never really came up. Now, if something was gonna get serious with somebody, then I probably would have been like, oh yeah, no, I'm kind of nutty, so you don't want to do that. But nothing was ever serious at all until I got with Josh. And then, like, I told Josh, and he was like, okay. Pretty much. That's exactly how you typed it too. Okay. Like, that's how he typed it. Just like, okay, you don't have any other thoughts on that? Nope. And then I remember telling him that things can get pretty wild because I'm crazy, but he was fine with that.
Well, I mean, I think there's one point where I said, like, I mean, my mom's schizophrenic, so...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
he told me that, yeah. He's just like,
she's clearly way worse than you, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have a lot more... I'm a mild case, okay? So, and I'm more aware of my symptoms than some other people are. That you can have schizophrenia and not be aware of yourself even having it. In fact, I remember when I first got diagnosed, I was like, I don't fucking have this shit. And I remember telling somebody I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I said, I swear to God, I said, I don't fucking have this shit. They don't know what they're talking about. And this guy said, I don't think you can have schizophrenia if you think you have it. And I just... I just thought that shit was fucking hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was just like, okay. Which is a misconception, yeah. All right? That is a misconception, but it's a funny one. But yeah, I mean, I was literally that person who's like, I don't fucking have this. They don't know what they're talking about. I used to go around and be like, I don't have delusions. What are you talking about? While I was having delusions.
Yeah.
Right? And just be like, I don't have delusions. What do you mean? So, yeah, like, I don't remember what we were talking about or how we got here, but... There you go. See, I told you.
What dating when you have schizophrenia is like?
Yeah, it really wasn't that big of a deal for me. And like I said, but that's because I met my soulmate shortly after. So, like, not everybody has the experience of meeting their soulmate shortly after. So, yeah. I do advise people to just tell people up front, like, yo, I have this. I think you need to tell people that, especially because people are a lot more open about it now. Yeah. 20 years ago, I'd have probably had a different thing to say, but now I'm like, no, you need to be upfront with people, because if they don't want to date you because of it, that's their prerogative. You know what I mean? Fuck them. You know, they're missing out, but that's their prerogative.
I feel like I might have asked this before, so sorry if I forgot, but does each of your voices have a specific personality, or are they more complex than just kind and mean voices?
One has like a personality that I've pretty much given it. But the most part, no, they don't have personalities. They don't, I mean, they kind of do, but not really, but their personalities are one note. It's just like, I'm annoying, right? I tell you to die. I tell you to go fuck yourself all the time. I call you fat all the time. Does that make sense? Like, those are their purposes. Like, your purpose is to pass butter, and that's it.
So they're kind of similar to Disco Elysium thoughts in that aspect. How close does the game represent that?
The kind voice is like volition. I mean, they can be like those other thoughts where they sort of just have one thing that they do, and yeah, actually. Like, what was that one? There's volition, but there's another one. He's one of the pink ones, not Half-Light, but it's the physical one. The physical instrument. The one that's always telling you to hit on people and smoke and get high and drunk. That one, which I think is testosterone, right? Or whatever, or it's your penis or some shit. I don't fucking know, but that voice, right? That is very much like some where it only has one thing on its mind. I don't have any voices in my head that are excessively horny though, but I'm just saying, like, I do have one that wants to have a baby. Like, yeah, they have one purpose and they serve that. And I think that's everything.
That is it, yeah.
All right, well, there we go.